A pleasant morning to everyone. This morning, we are going to talk about leadership. Not leadership in the corporate world, not leadership in the political world, but Christian leadership. The kind of leadership where God calls ordinary people to step into extraordinary responsibility. Let me begin with a story. There was a young man in a church who was very active, always attending, always listening, always helping behind the scenes. One day, the pastor approached him and said, "Next month, I want you to lead a small group." The young man smiled and said, "Yes, pastor." But when he went home, he couldn't sleep. What if I say something wrong? What if they ask questions and I could not answer? What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? He prayed for this opportunity, yet when it finally came, instead of excitement, he felt fear. Have you ever been there? You prayed for growth. You prayed for responsibility. You prayed for God to use you. Then the door opened and suddenly you whispered, "Am I ready? Am I ready for this new responsibility? Am I ready to lead others?" You keep on asking yourself, what if I fail? What if I make the wrong decisions? What if I can't handle the pressure? What if I am not good enough? This morning, I want us to look at someone in the Bible who faced the same kind of moment. Someone who stood at the edge of a new season. Someone who was about to lead. Someone who also had questions. So let's open our Bibles to Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 to 15. The word of the Lord says, "Moses was pasturing the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, yet the bush was not consumed. So Moses said, I must turn aside now and see this marvelous sight, why the bush is not burned up. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Do not come near here. Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. He also said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Then Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have given heed to their cry because of their taskmasters. For I am aware of their sufferings. So I have come down to deliver them from the power of the Egyptians, and to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Now, behold, the cry of the sons of Israel has come to me. Furthermore, I have seen the oppression with which the Egyptians are oppressing them. Therefore, come now, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the sons of Israel out of Egypt. And he said, Certainly I will be with you, and this shall be the sign to you, that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall worship God at this mountain. Then Moses said to God, Behold, I am going to the sons of Israel, and I will say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you. Now they may say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, I am has sent me to you. God furthermore said to Moses, Thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial name to all generations. May the good Lord bless us upon the reading of His Word. So before we go to Exodus chapter 3, let us look first at the setting. Let us understand what is happening or what happened previously in this chapter. You see, the Israelites were living in the land of Egypt during the time when Joseph became the second in command in Egypt. But in Exodus chapter 1, Joseph died, and the generations that knew him also passed away. Then a new Pharaoh came into power, and because of fear that the Israelites were becoming powerful and too many, he ordered to enslave them. The Israelites were forced to build, they were forced to labor. In short, they were oppressed, so they cried out. In Exodus chapter 1, Israel was not celebrating. They were suffering. And in Exodus chapter 2, God heard their cry. God saw their situation, and God remembered His covenant with Israel. Now, when we read the statement, do not take it literally as if God actually forgot. That is what we call anthropomorphic language. It describes in human terms who God is so that we can understand Him. When the Bible says God remembered, it means He is about to do something. It means God is going to act in this situation. And in the same generation of slavery and oppression, a Hebrew baby boy was born. His name was Moses. He was not an Egyptian, he was an Israelite, born from the tribe of Levi. He belonged to the very people who were crying out to God. But because Pharaoh had ordered that all baby boys be killed, Moses' mother hid him for 3 months in their house. When she could no longer hid him, she placed him in a basket and set him among the reeds of the Nile River, trusting God with his life. And in God's providence, the daughter of Pharaoh found baby Moses. She had compassion on him. She adopted him. So the child who was supposed to be killed by Pharaoh's decree was raised inside Pharaoh's palace. Moses grew up educated. He was trained in the wisdom of Egypt. He understood leadership, governance, culture, and power. From a human perspective, Moses was ready to lead. So at 40 years old, he tried to rescue Israel in his own strength. One time, he saw an Egyptian beating his own people. So what he did, he killed the Egyptian. However, when Pharaoh found out what Moses had done, he ordered to kill Moses. So out of fear, Moses fled to Midian, and there he became a shepherd for 40 years. Imagine the transition in Moses' life from prince of Egypt to a shepherd in the desert. So in Exodus chapter 3 verse 1, it says, "Now Moses was pasturing the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God." Let's look at this verse carefully. The verse tells us that Moses was tending sheep. He was pasturing the flock of his father-in-law. If we look at it, Moses was no longer in Egypt. He was not a prince anymore. So how could he possibly help his people? You know what? There was nothing extraordinary about what Moses was doing. He was working for someone else. He was under the authority of his father-in-law. And at this point, Moses was in the wilderness. Wilderness is a place of isolation, not a place of spotlight. There was no crowd, no audience, just him. No one saw what he was doing. It was quiet, it was hidden, it was ordinary. Upon reading this and understanding this verse again and again, here's what I learned. The 40 years of working for someone else, the 40 years of isolation, the 40 years of wilderness, this was the years of formation. This was God's preparation to make Moses ready for his calling. And sometimes, God does the same thing in our lives. He allows us to handle small and simple responsibilities, tasks that no one notices, work that feels ordinary and unseen. And instead of complaining, instead of asking, "Lord, why am I here?" we must remain faithful. Because the hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. Those are your years of formation. That is the preparation for your calling. The discipline you do not like is often the discipline that develops your ministry. Moses probably thought it was nothing significant, but God was already molding him while he was still in the wilderness. Take note of this. Before God uses you publicly, He forms you privately. God did not call Moses while he was still in the palace. God called him in the pasture. Because in Egypt, Moses learned how to lead like a prince. But in Midian, he learned how to depend like a shepherd. Remember this. God uses leaders who knows how to depend. And I quote, "Leadership in the ministry begins the moment you learn how to depend on God." You cannot lead God's people if you do not learn first how to depend on God. Remember this, before God entrusts you with people, He tests you with sheep. If you cannot be faithful in the small things, in the small responsibilities, you will not be ready for big responsibilities. Now, while Moses was tending sheep, something unusual happened. In verse 2 to 4, Moses saw a bush that was burning with fire, but to his amazement, the bush was not consumed. At this point, Moses has two options. First, he could retreat in fear. Moses could have said, "This is very strange. This is dangerous. This is not normal." He could have walked away. He could have ignored the burning bush. He could have protected his comfort. Let me tell you this. Many people miss encountering God because they retreat from what they cannot explain. Maybe you are stepping into a new season, a new responsibility, new expectation, new position, and maybe you are thinking, this feels unfamiliar, this feels uncomfortable, this feels overwhelming. But listen to this carefully. If Moses had stayed comfortable in Midian, he would have missed his calling in Egypt. If you retreat from what feels unfamiliar, you might retreat from what God prepared for you. So when you see your burning bush moment, a new role, a new responsibility, a new season in your life, do not retreat. Because sometimes the thing that scares you is the very place where God will speak to you. Now, Moses could have retreated in fear, but he chose the second option, which is to respond in faith. Moses said in verse 3, "I must turn aside now and see this marvelous sight, why the bush is not burned up." That decision to turn aside, it was small in movement but significant in meaning. Remember, verse 2 says, God appeared to Moses, but the Lord only spoke to him when he turned aside. Sometimes, God waits for our response before revealing our calling. It was when Moses moved closer that God called his name Moses, Moses. And that is powerful. Why? Because God speaks to those who respond. God reveals himself to those who move closer. God entrusts leadership to those who step forward in faith. And I want you to remember this. Your burning bush moment may feel uncomfortable. It may look overwhelming. It may expose your weaknesses. But it is not sent to destroy you. It is sent to define you. Because when God is in the fire, that fire refines you. It will not ruin you. So respond in faith. Let's continue. After Moses turned aside in verse 5, it says, "Do not come near here. Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground." God said, remove your sandals. Because in their culture, removing sandals was a sign of humility, a sign of surrender, a sign of submission, and a sign of reverence. In other words, God was saying to Moses, before you carry my assignment, you must first acknowledge my authority. Moses needs to submit first to God. Before God assigns a mission to you, He wants you to first learn submission. You cannot stand before God publicly if you have not submitted to God privately. Every time God gives you opportunity to serve, remember this, remove your sandals. Do not forget to recognize the authority of God. Do not forget to humble yourself. Do not forget that you are in that position because of the Lord. Remember this. The ground was holy not because of Moses. It was holy because of God's presence. Our calling, our ministry, our leadership is holy not because we are talented, not because we are skilled, not because we are smart. It is holy because of God's presence. So before you take the leadership role, remember to check your sandal. Because God forms leaders in the place of surrender before sending them into a place of service. And in verse 6, we see that God introduces Himself not as the God of Egypt, but as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God begins to reveal His identity to Moses. In other words, God was saying, Moses, I am the promise-keeping God. I am the same God who spoke generations ago. Before Moses could lead the Israelites, he needs to know who God is. Because leadership in the ministry is not about our confidence. It is about knowing the character of God. When Moses realized that it was God, he hid himself. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because he was aware of how small he was before the Lord. And I hope and I pray that we realize this as well. Especially when we are already leading in the ministry. No matter how big your position may be, God is always greater than you. Take note of this. God is always greater. After this, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 7 to 9, God said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry. I know their suffering. I have seen the oppression, and I have come down to deliver them. This is what God is doing here. God showed Moses His compassion to the Israelites before He gave him the mission. Because leadership in the ministry begins when you see what God sees, when you feel what God feels. Once your heart aligns with God's heart, obedience becomes natural. You don't need to be convinced. You don't need to be pressured. You no longer need to be forced. You move because you now carry the burden which God carries. God's concern becomes your concern. God's people becomes your people. And God's mission becomes your mission. Take note of this. Leadership in the ministry is not proven by how well you preach, but by how deeply you care. Personally, this is what I am learning right now in the ministry. Because if you can see what God sees, if you can feel what God feels, then obedience will not be forced. It will just flow. So as you step into a new season of your life and take on leadership responsibility, remember this: the future of your leadership is not determined by your talent, but by your tenderness towards God's heart. Let God break your heart for what breaks His. Because when God's concern becomes your concern, you are not just ready for the next step. You are ready to lead God's people. And after that, God said in verse 3, Therefore, come now, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. Moses did not volunteer. He did not apply. He was sent. And when you are sent, You do not represent yourself. You represent the one who sent you. That means leadership in the ministry is not about building your name. It is about carrying His name. And notice where God was going to send Moses. In the verse, God said, I will send you to Pharaoh. Leadership in the ministry will often take you to difficult places, lead you to uncomfortable conversations, and bring you to intimidating environments. If God sends you, hardship is not a sign that you miss His will. Maybe the hardship that you are experiencing is the proof that you are walking in the right path. When you face pressure in the ministry, when you are misunderstood, when your decisions are questioned, when the ministry becomes heavy, remember this: you are not in the ministry because you volunteered. You are there because you are sent by God. And when difficult time comes, remember who sent you. In verse 11, Moses responds with a question. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Moses' question shows that he felt insecure and inadequate because he was aware of how great the assignment was. However, notice God's answer in verse 12. He said, "Certainly I will be with you." Again, leadership in the ministry is not about who we are. It is about who is with us. And when God is with you, that is more than enough. Then in verse 13, Moses asked another question. If they ask me, what is his name, what shall I say to them? In verse 11, Moses asked, who am I? In verse 13, his question changed. He asked, who are you? At first, he was focused on himself. But this time, his focus shifted to God. Leadership transformation happens when our focus moves from ourselves to God. And in verse 14, God responded, I am who I am. God did not give Moses a strategy. He gave him his name. He said, I am. It means God is self-existent. God is self-sufficient. He is not created and He does not depend on anyone. He is eternal. He has no beginning and no ending. And He is unchanging. God does not change in His character, in His promise, or in His purpose. So in this text, God was giving Moses the assurance of His presence and His faithfulness. So when God gives you responsibility, do not start with who am I. Start with who God is. Because your calling does not depend on who you are. Your calling depends on who God is. And we know what happened next. Moses confronted Pharaoh. He declared, let my people go. He led the Israelites out of Egypt. He stood before the Red Sea. He stood before a complaining nation. And he stood faithfully for God. Some people want leadership. Some people want position. Some people want influence. But they do not want holiness. They do not want surrender. They do not want to slow down and listen to God. Many believers today want to be used by God, but they don't want to be shaped by God. You may be growing in knowledge. You may be learning new skills. You may be developing your gifts. You may be serving actively in the ministry. But never lose your personal encounter with God. Because you can have training without intimacy. You can have knowledge without holiness. You can have position without surrender. And that kind of leadership in the ministry will not last. Always remember Moses. The desert formed his dependence. The burning bush tested his response. The holy ground taught him surrender. And God's compassion shaped his heart. Take note of this. Your leadership in the ministry begins when you depend on God. It grows when you respond in faith. It is protected when you surrender. And it is sustained when your heart beats with God's heart. When God forms leader, He equips that leader to serve. Always remember this. The one who calls you will always be with you. Just as God promised to be with Moses when He sent him to bring Israel out of Egypt, God will also be with you as you lead and serve in the ministry He has called you. This is my challenge to all of you. If God is with you, step into the ministry with courage. Step into your leadership with surrender. And if today you are still asking, am I ready? This is how I would respond to you biblically. If you are depending on God, you are ready. If you are willing to surrender, you are ready. If you are brave enough to say, "Here I am, Lord," you are ready. Can we all declare this? Let us declare this statement. Because God is with me, I am now ready. In 3, 2, 1. Because God is with me, I am now ready. Good day and God bless everyone.